637 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on to your Tuesday, January 7th. Man, it is cold. Along with Joan Jones and KGB, Jeff Malinoff. I'm Dan Mandis, and want to welcome on into the program Matthew Hurt, our grassroots political analyst. Matthew, always great to have you on. I want to start this conversation with a quote here from Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
A lot of hard work to be done in a very short amount of time, because remember, we want to deliver this to the president's desk by hopefully the end of April at the latest. And so we've got a lot of work to do between now and then, and there'll be long days and long nights here. But we've already told all the House Republicans and Senate Republicans, be ready to work overtime and inform your spouses now. This is going to be a tough season, but it'll be worth it in the end for all of us.
All right, so he's talking about, of course, passing Donald Trump's agenda, including he wants this one big, beautiful reconciliation bill. Other conservatives and other people want two. And so let's start there. Matthew, of course, always great to have you on the program. What do you think? One reconciliation bill or two?
Well, look, Dan, I think that Congress should work through these matters responsibly. I'm still a fiscal conservative, but Speaker Johnson is absolutely right. They have 2 years to get this right, to get the full Trump agenda through, and that means they're going to have to actually come into work. And so we're going to see a lot of work. Washington is closed today. It's day 2 of a snow day, but Congress is at work, and I am excited and optimistic about what Republicans are going to be able to accomplish. The big problem is that if they lose 1 or 2 votes in the House, it really jeopardizes the opportunity here. So what that means is there can be no flights canceled. There can be no sick members of Congress back home in their districts. Everybody has to get back to the office, back to Washington on Monday evening, which is usually when they start the week. And I am optimistic about what they're going to be able to accomplish.
One of the concerns that I have, because you and I both know that this is going to be a battle between Republicans and not Republicans and Democrats. By and large, I believe that Democrats are not going to help the Republicans do anything. They're in the House of Representatives. But you have a lot of people that criticized within the Republican Party. You have a lot of people that will criticize the Democrats for bringing just this kind of bill, whether it's a reconciliation bill, an omnibus spending bill. But a lot of Republicans have criticized the Democrats for doing just this. And now the Republicans are doing the same thing with Mike Johnson and President Trump. They want the one big bill as opposed to two. So I think that there's going to be some fiscally conservative Republicans who are going to push back on this notion of one bill.
You're right on 2 things. The Democrats are not going to give Republicans a win. You talked about it before the break with Joe Biden doing everything he can as he leaves the White House. The second thing is the Republican Party is the only party that tolerates ideological diversity. And so we have fiscal hawks. We have conservatives who are concerned about spending, and I am one of those. And so we'll see those debates play out. It remains to be seen how these bills move through the committee process and how Republicans tackle them, and what kind of horse trading you see going on behind the scenes or out in the open on the headlines of mainstream media, where Republicans are making principled arguments in favor of getting them in the right direction. And I think that is the major concern is, we've got great members of Congress like Congressman Thomas Massie in Kentucky, who is great on every single issue, and he's going to raise pointed questions. We've got others in Congress who are going to do the same. And at the end of the day, Republicans can't afford to lose more than 1 vote on any of these pieces of legislation.
It is insane. And the problem that Mike Johnson has is, okay, so if he starts losing Republicans, then he's got to go to Hakeem Jeffries. And he's got to say, look, I need 3 people to get this whole thing passed. And then once you start horse trading with Democrats, that's when everything really does fall off the rails. By the way, were you surprised? It's been a minute since you and I spoke. Were you surprised that Mike Johnson was confirmed as Speaker?
I wasn't surprised. Donald Trump came out in favor of him. We didn't see nearly as much. I saw a number of Democrats on X who said, are we going to get a Speaker of the House today? I didn't expect too much drama, maybe one vote or two, but ultimately not surprised with his reelection, giving Donald Trump support. And I'm under the impression and have read in the headlines that Trump was making calls during the vote to members of Congress. And that is something that he has done time and time again as members have been on the House floor taking important votes like this.
One of the things that I noticed yesterday, it's almost comical, where you have some of these people on the left and they're trying to talk about January 6th, 4 years ago. And they're trying to sort of make this very sanctimonious and pious argument that yesterday really was supposed to be about January 6th from 4 years ago. And my point is, it's been about everything that's happened since that day within the Biden administration. This is Hakeem Jeffries. Maybe you've heard this already.
January 6th, 2021 is a day that will forever live in infamy.
They're trying to make January 6th from 4 years ago like Pearl Harbor and 9/11. And, of course, Sonny Hostin talking about how it's akin to the Holocaust. Why are they doing this? This is why they lost the election.
You and I talked during the election cycle about MSNBC's sort of focus group in Michigan, and the voters just don't care. The only person who was killed on January 6th was Ashley Babbitt. She was killed by a member of Capitol Law Enforcement. The most law enforcement officers were holding the door open as people went in. Once you got past sort of the first wave of people who did have, I think, bad intentions going into the Capitol, there were just waves of Trump supporters who wound up in the Capitol. And the American people are past it. It just does not resonate with the voter. If you look at the issues, the top 10 issues as people exit the polls and they ask them, did you vote based on the economy? Did you vote based on immigration? Did you vote based on crime and security? The number 11 issue was, did you vote based on what happened on January 6, 2021? And it just does not resonate with the American people.
No, and that's the problem that Democrats have. And as you and I spoke often about, they didn't have anything else during this election. And so that's why they had to keep going back to 4 years ago. And because everything since that day has been a complete and utter train wreck because of Joe Biden. Got a lot more with Matthew Hurt coming up next. It is 6:45. Time to check the roads on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The weather today, it's going to be a high of 34, low of 24. It's going to be cloudy. No rain and no snow. Really, though, you want to focus on this coming Friday. We've got a lot of snow in the forecast. And so details coming up at the top of the hour right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matthew Hurt, our grassroots political analyst, is joining us here on Nashville's Morning News. All right. So, Matthew, one of the things that Joe Biden is doing, and Donald Trump is accusing him of this, is he's trying to impact the transition, and he's trying to derail as best he can Donald Trump's presidency. And Trump is accusing him of that, openly accusing him of that. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. You and I have talked about this before. This is way worse than Bill Clinton stealing furniture and removing the W's from the keyboard in 2000. Mm-hmm. This is a full court press, offices of attorneys who are figuring out everything they can do to trip up Donald Trump in the incoming administration. We talk about, or the Democrats talk about, a peaceful transition of power. This is likely the most hostile transition of power we've ever seen in American politics, and it is a shame, and it's exactly why, you said a minute ago, Speaker Johnson going to Hakeem Jeffries, I don't think the Republicans are going to pick up one Democrat vote in the House on any of these important bills because they are fully committed to this resistance movement in the absence of a protest movement. We haven't seen a protest in Washington, D.C. since the election. I've been very surprised. The left-wing electorate seems pretty subdued, but that doesn't mean that Democrats in Congress and entrenched members of the deep state aren't doing everything they can to stop Donald Trump's agenda.
One of the things that I spoke about yesterday, where Biden banned oil and gas drilling, and across U.S., across 625 million acres of U.S. coastal territory, basically banning offshore drilling. And Trump has come out and he's going to say that I'm going to unban it immediately. But how much of a hiccup or how much of a pothole is this to Donald Trump as he takes the oath of office on January 20th?
Well, it depends on if it's an administrative action that the administration can just undo or if this has to go through the courts. And curiously enough, this is one of the things that Canadians are upset about as well, is the lack of drilling. Canada is the third largest producer of, they've got the third largest oil reserves. And so this is something that resonates with the average voter in the Western Hemisphere. And so if it's an administrative action, it should be pretty easy to undo. But if Donald Trump has to go through the courts, depending upon which jurisdiction, he could hit a roadblock there.
All right, so give me a little bit of a historical perspective. When Trump left office 4 years ago, I'm just wondering if this is a tit for tat. I don't remember Trump doing as much as Biden is doing. We all know what he did with the remnants of the wall as well. Trump didn't do this, did he?
It would have made the headlines to a ridiculous degree. I don't recall this. I don't think that it happened. And I also don't think the Trump administration officials had the capacity and the wherewithal. I just don't think they had the knowledge to do it. I don't know that they would have if they did have the knowledge, but I don't think that they did it. We certainly would have heard about it in all of the mainstream media, how Donald Trump was trying to hinder the incoming president. This is barely making it out in sort of conservative news circles and on talk radio like this, but certainly I don't believe anything like this happened when Joe Biden took office.
All right, Matthew Hurt, how can people follow you on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter at Matthew Hurt, MattheWHurtt.
All right. Thank you very much. Always great to have you on. Spot on analysis as always. It is 6:50 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Okay. Right before the news with Joan Jones, we are going to talk about Donald Trump's, it's great audio, his immediate reaction upon hearing that Joe Biden had basically banned offshore oil drilling. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, the Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986. And here we are in 2025. What big events do you have planned? Whether it's a big corporate event or a family reunion, maybe a wedding at your home. My friends at Nashville Tent and Awning, they can help you with an incredible enclosure that can be installed literally anywhere. They've been around since 1884. That's right, 1884. These folks are a Nashville institution, and they've worked with the likes of the Titans, Vanderbilt, and the Grand Ole Opry. Now, they're one of the top companies here in Nashville. Think about your backyard. You can actually extend your living space with a backyard enclosure so you can enjoy it even here in the wintertime. If you have an event for work coming up, they can help you there as well with a tent or an enclosure. And they've also got awnings for any style of building that'll improve the look and feel of your home or office. Get some visuals and check them out online. Their website, it's a great one. NTACO.com. That's like ntaco.com. NTACO.com. The phone number, as always, tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-329-3701. 615-329-3701. Again, tell them Dan told you to reach out. Solid craftsmanship built to last since 1884. Nashville Tent and Awning. It is 6:51 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones has the news. Coming up at 7. Joan, what do we got?
A prisoner swap appears to be taking place between the U.S. and a terrorist group. And it's happened again. 2 people stowed away on a passenger plane. We'll tell you the outcome of this story. Those stories coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.